Hello, welcome. I'm Brad. How are you? This is a video intro to the Rough Conversations podcast page, taken in a very rough way, as you'll see in a very rough part of the world. So it's just rough nature out here. Whoa, where's my head? There it is. Oh, don't go away. There we go. So I'm sitting outside and I found myself quite a nice spot on a tree stump, and I've decided that this is where it's going to be, and I'm going to sit here and have a quick chat to you. So again, this is an intro to the Rough Conversations podcast page. Why do I think that's necessary? I think that's necessary because this is something that started 11 days ago now, in fact, and today's date, by the way, is the 11th of August, and it's 2016. It's a Thursday afternoon, and it's just about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I think. So it started 11 days ago now, and it's sort of kind of always an idea that I've had. I just didn't know it was going to be exactly this. And what was happening is I was having a conversation with a friend of mine about something that I was experiencing at the time, and I thought, you know what, dude, let's do this. Let's just record this conversation, let's post it and see what happens. From that, it led into a second podcast, and that second podcast we had was about what we learned from having the first conversation. Now, the first podcast was, you'd have to go and listen to it to find out. But it potentially was material that could have been embarrassing. It could have set us up for a little bit of ridicule, and generally things that people don't talk about in their everyday lives. And it was something that I was experiencing, and I found it sort of amusing to a certain degree. And then we started having a chat about it. We recorded and we popped it up. Again, it led into a second one, which was more about the learning that we'd actually gotten from having had that conversation, and what that had done to our minds. It had sparked that sort of level of interest and that level of attention around that particular topic, and how that affected us the next day and affected how we perceived things and how we looked at things. That's a very cool idea, we thought. So we decided that we were going to keep going with it. Now, podcast number 1 got a little bit more reaction than podcast number 2 at this stage. So podcast number 3 then became a young lady who had heard the topic conversation in podcast number 1 and wanted to respond to that. And that ended up being the best conversation that I've had up to date, given that it's only 3 so far. And of course, we'd like to keep going. This will technically be number 4, the 4th podcast. The podcast can come in either video or audio form. So, yeah, a little intro to the whole thing is basically, what is Rough Conversations all about? Rough Conversations for me is the everyday stuff that we experience in life that we are too afraid, too ashamed, or even just maybe too anxious and too nervous to talk about because we think we're going to be ridiculed by it. And that ridicule, I think, that sense of being ridiculed comes from the so-called social sort of parameters or structures that have been built up around us, which actually are just absolute rubbish in the first place. So that's what Rough Conversations is. It's having a conversation about the real things that people talk about every single day, with no inhibitions, very, very openly and very candidly, and with any luck, making a difference to the lives of the people that have those conversations because of the power of what talking about something can do for you. And of course, hopefully adding some identification out there for people that listen to it. People who might be experiencing something, thinking that they are the only ones experiencing what they're experiencing, And hopefully that gives people a sense of hope and people a sense of inspiration around what it is that they're feeling and experiencing. Now, somewhere along the line, and I don't know why and I don't know how, but in this world of ours that we live in today, we've all been somehow manufactured to think that there are certain things that we can't talk about. There are certain things that we need to hide from other people. There are certain things that are just said behind closed doors or thought but not said. And, in my life experience, I've found that way too often those things can be very detrimental. It can fester. It can just be real sort of poison to the soul. So what I'd like to see happen here on this particular platform is I'd like to see people having conversations that open up, that talk about real things in their everyday lives. I spent most of my life growing up feeling like I was left out, feeling like I just didn't quite fit in. Oftentimes I would say certain things. This is what I wanted to do. This is what I wanted to achieve. And I'd be told that that's impossible. I can't do that. I have to do this. I have to do it this way. I have to do it in a particular fashion. I got laughed at when I was a kid. I got ridiculed for feeling certain things. and for saying that these were certain things that I was going to do and achieve in my life. And, that led to me sort of bottling up, feeling really left out, feeling quite ashamed at a lot of the things that I was feeling and experiencing as a kid growing up. And that I just didn't have anybody to talk to. People were around. They said, come and talk to us. You can talk to us any single time you like. But really all I ever heard was their own sort of recycled version of what apparently society tells everybody that we need to be in this life, And for me, it's all about making that change. So what happened from that is I have a history with drugs and alcohol. I left home when I was 16. I got expelled from school. I've achieved quite a lot of things in my life that make up a sum total of a mass amount of experiences that I have at the moment. So, I've done a lot of things. Probably more to the point because I couldn't hold down a job. That's why, I just, for some reason, things didn't make sense to me. The way that people were working didn't make sense to me. The way that people were operating didn't make sense to me, And I really got made to feel like an outcast for that. People just can't understand that sort of thing. Or at least, let me rephrase that. I won't say they can't understand that. Because I think we all have potentially the power to be absolutely and understand absolutely every single thing in this universe. And I think subconsciously, somewhere deep down there, everybody understands that as well. It's just that because of this social structure and the way that we've been brought up and the way that this world has sort of manifested itself at the moment in our societies here, that they just kind of steer away from that. Like, that's stuff that isn't spoken about. You're a bit of an oddball. You're not really fitting in. So what are we going to do with you? Or it's just kind of your problem at this point in time, We got some kids over there making some noise, but that's okay, because it's a joyful noise at the end of the day, and that's what this thing's all about for me. So yeah, just to wrap it up, that kind of thing haunted me from my teens, my early teens, and the alcoholism and the drugs and the addiction and that type of thing, up to my early 30s. I'm 35 now. I've been clean for just over 2.5 years. I've been on this journey for 10 years. And I've been in personal development for the last couple of years. And I'm now a qualified life coach as well, which is pretty cool. And that fits in so sweetly with the fact that I really love listening to people. And the other thing is I really love talking. And that for me is why this platform fits so perfectly. Perhaps if at the time I, like you, if you're feeling that way, had somebody that allowed for the type of conversation that I needed to have, then things might have been a bit different. Having said that, if they had been different, I wouldn't have ended up here today. And this platform wouldn't be here. And that's what I'm quite excited about. I'm really excited about this platform, I believe that you have the potential in you to be and do and think and just absolutely sort of just completely encompass every single positive thing that you want to be in the world. There really is no need necessarily to do everything that everybody else tells you. Now, I'm not going to tell you to quit your job because that would be a bit dodgy. I've ran some really sort of hard risks in my life. Not always the best decisions at the right times as well, and it put me in some pretty precarious positions. But it got to a point in my life where I just couldn't do it anymore. I was running myself down because I didn't really know what was wrong with me. I didn't really know what I was feeling because other people didn't know what I was feeling. And because they didn't know what I was feeling, I felt left out. They didn't understand, and it just got worse and worse and worse. And it just kind of got to the point where I couldn't take it anymore. I didn't want to live, but I wasn't dying. And it's a conversation, the start of a conversation that turned my life around. And that's what I want this to be for other people. Now, it may not be that sort of same massive sort of impact for you at this point in time, but there are differences that can be made. There are differences that can be made by having real conversations and just listening to other people. All we really need to do to understand that 90% of the 8 billion people on this planet are not really talking about anything at all is listen to a conversation and realize that there's just a whole lot of rubbish going on over there. So if we can increase the quality of the conversation, then that's what this is all about. If by having a conversation, it makes an impact to just one person's life, it changes one person's life, it makes one person understand that I'm not the only one that feels this. Other people feel this way too. And you know what? They're brave enough to talk about it. My life is worth living again. I know that what I'm feeling, the fact that I'm feeling different, the fact that I feel like I have this drive and this mission in life to have an impact, to make a difference, that's okay, that I don't have to go and sit in an office. from 9 to 5 or 8 to 5 these days. The way the world works today anyway, they try and take as much as possible. So it's not even 9 to 5 anymore. Pensions don't exist anymore. You know what I mean? Housing doesn't exist anymore for people in jobs and things like that. They just want more all the time. These places, the cities are just becoming giant sweatshops. And you know what? If that's okay, if that's what we've got to deal with, then the least that I would like to see happen is a platform where we have a platform for conversation, where people can be open and honest about it, to talk about the things that they're feeling, to get it out, so that it doesn't get to the point where people are taking their own lives, so that it doesn't get to the point where people are walking around in shopping malls and schools and public places throwing hand grenades and opening up on freaking automatic weapons. All they need is a conversation. Let's have that conversation. This is a rough conversation. No one's judging you. It doesn't matter. And these are the things that we're going to talk about. One of my favorite quotes that I heard was from Earl Nightingale. Now, as far back as I can trace it, he said it in 1954. It may have been around before that. I don't know. But what I do know is that it was true then when he said it. It was true probably for hundreds of thousands of years before that, and it's true today. And he said that the opposite of courage in our society today isn't cowardice, it's conformity. And that really struck a chord with me, in trying to figure out exactly where it is that I want to go and what it is that I need to be doing in this life, and the difference that I'd like to make for myself, my family, for my friends, and for people around me. The opposite of courage in our society today isn't cowardice, it's conformity. It's the need to think that we need to do the same things that everybody else does because that's what they do. And when we don't do it that way, we're made to feel left out. So if courage is standing out, then I'm happy to be the odd one out. I'm happy to be the odd one out. And if you've got that feeling too, then I encourage you to take a leap with that. Focus on what it is that you really want in this life. That's the nice thing about this world with nearly 8 billion people on it, is that not everybody likes the same thing, So what you like, what makes you happy, what drives you every single day, that's what you should be doing, That's exactly what you should be doing. Another quote from Earl Nightingale is that success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. And what that meant to me was, with my preconceived idea of telly and music videos and the way that media and the world in general represents success, before that I just thought I'm never going to be able to achieve the things that I want to achieve. I'm never going to be a success. But if success is purely the progression of a worthy ideal, that means that step by step, day by day, minute by minute, hour by hour, if I'm doing things that get me towards the goal, that makes me happy, that makes me feel fulfilled, that gets me up in the morning, then I'm a success every single day. And you're one too if you're doing that. There's no need to conform. We don't have to conform. If you want to conform, that's up to you. That's the way it goes. But I'm here to tell you that you can do absolutely anything that you want to do. I know I've said it more than once, and I'm going to keep saying it. I believe it because I am it. I believe in miracles because I am one. Whenever anybody asks me what I do, I like to say whatever it takes. I'll do whatever it takes. And I'm going to follow my passion. And Rough Conversations for me is a passion. This is my mission, is to go around, talk about the things that I'm feeling, and post them, with people who are brave enough to have the same conversations with me. And so far, I've been blessed by finding that out. My life changed because somebody listened to me, Granted, people needed to listen to me a little bit more often after that. And every now and again, I really got to the point where I felt sometimes like I couldn't shut up. But you know what? I needed to get it out. And that's what's important, I want to hear you. I want to listen to you. I want to chat to you. If you've got something to say, I'd like to hear it, guys, please. Because what I want to see is I want to see you achieve every single thing that you can in this life. My life has changed so dramatically now. I'm 35 years old. Like I said earlier, I've been properly clean now for 2.5 years. I'm in a completely different country. I got to this country, the UK, with a suitcase and 1,500 pounds, and every single day at the moment is not everything that I want it to be, but 99% of the time I'm waking up with joy in my heart, and I've been looking to find out what it is that's going to do this for me on a continuous basis, and how I can help other people. How can the experiences that I've been through, how can the gifts that I've been given, that I was born with, my natural skills, abilities, talents, and gifts in my life experience, how can I use that to inspire people all around the world to tap into their own inner potential? Because I'm telling you, I know you've got it. You know you've got it too. you can do absolutely anything that you want. It's about believing in yourself, and it's about taking action. You know, we started this podcast 11 days ago, and I've never been happier since. How do I know this is the right thing? I know this is the right thing because it sparks every synapse in my body. I feel absolutely energized. I'm so excited. I'm so pumped up. I feel like I could jump 10 feet high. This is Rough Conversations, guys. This is the platform. You know, all we need to do is turn around to somebody on the tube, on the bus, in the street, and start having a pleasant conversation with them. You don't always have to have a deep conversation. You don't have to invade people's personal space. And if you've got nothing to say, just listen. You know, how could you change somebody else's life? Instead of us all walking around all the time having this sort of absolute sense of judgment. It's me against you, you against me. Oh my God, don't look at me like that. Why are you looking at me? What are you doing? You know, I have those days too. I have those days where, I tell you, I'll walk around, and the best way to describe it is it's the push sign on a door when I've tried to open it by pulling it. It's the mind the step sign on the floor next to the step that I've just tripped over, or the mind your head sign where I've just bumped my head. You know, these are the things in life, aren't they? Such paradoxes. I made my life difficult for myself for so long because I didn't have the right conversations and I didn't have the right people to speak to. You know, so this platform, you know, it doesn't always have to be serious conversations, but that's what Rough Conversations is about for me. So if you'd like to check it out, hit up the Rough Conversations Facebook page. It's at RoughChat1 at Twitter as well. We've got a Rough Conversations podcast page on SoundCloud. Or if you'd like to send us an email, it's roughconversations@gmail.com. And you can send it to me, Brad, or you can send it to my buddy George. He takes part in one or two of the podcasts that we've had so far as well. And of course, he does all the graphics. So if you'd like to give him a shout out, give him a shout out there. This is new for us. But I'm here to tell you guys, this is really what I want to get across to you today, is that, you know, if you're feeling down, if you're feeling trapped, if you're feeling in any way like you want to break free and you're not being able to achieve the things in life that you need to achieve, you can. It's there. And if by having a conversation that's what it takes, get hold of me, man. I'd love to talk to you. I'd love to hear from you. You're beautiful. I love you. I love you. Believe that. Remember that as well. You know? And I want this platform, hopefully, to just change lives right across the globe, you know? What I'm going to do with this is I'm going to travel around and I'm going to chat to people. I'm going to get as much information as I can. I'm going to have as many candid, open conversations as possible, you know? I had a friend, a guy that I'd met here in the UK when I just landed in a 12-step program. You know, he'd been struggling for a while. He was the same age as I am. And we got together, we spent a few months together, getting together, having some coffee here and there, going out for dinner, having a chat. And one of the best guys that I've ever met in my entire life. His name was Sam, you know, very tall guy as well, British guy. Man, we had good laughs together. He helped me through a rough time, you know. And I felt like when we were together, we had power together, you know what I mean? And I really loved seeing him, and I really loved talking to him. But he was struggling. He was struggling with his own problem, you know, his own inability to be able to talk to somebody, man. There were things that he just wasn't telling people, because what happened was he just started drifting away. And then 2 months ago, he'd been found in his flat. He'd been dead for 2 weeks. If he'd just been able to have that conversation, Sam might not be dead today, you know? And that's what I'd like to achieve here. I'd like to achieve that. I'd like to achieve the fact that, you know, if you've got something in your life that you know you want to do, you can do it. Don't worry. We're here for you, and we want to talk to you. That's why this is important. Again, you can do absolutely anything in life that you want to do, and you can make the change. It starts with you. Talking changes lives. And if you've got nothing to say, start by listening. And if talking is a passion for you too, then get in touch. You know, I'd love to hear from you. You know, hit up our podcast, give it a listen, keep an open mind. Send us messages. Tell us what works for you, what doesn't work for you, what you like, what you don't like, some of the things that you'd like to hear. And if you'd like to submit some things that you'd like to talk about, or you'd like to talk to us as well, do that too. You know, hit us up on the email address, the Facebook page, the Twitter account, all of that sort of thing. We'll have the details up at the end of this video as well. You know, absolutely anything is possible in this life. Technology these days, I mean, look at this. I'm sitting in a park. I'm recording it on my phone. At the moment, we've been doing the podcasts on the phone and on the computer. and that's all it takes to start. And if you have a dream, that's all you need to do to start as well, is just to take the first step. And everything else will reveal itself after that. I mean, it's unbelievable just in the last 11 days, the amount of learning that I've had around this, and the amount of inspiration that's given me. And I pray and hope that it will inspire millions of other people around the world as well. We could talk. We get on Skype, we can have a chat, we can record it, we can podcast it, Have a chat. We're friendly people, we like to talk. This is Brad T saying, hey, don't overdo it, do it over. So have yourselves a fantastic one. We'll chat soon. Bye-bye.